Hello and namaste. Today we have with us a school principal who is a bachelor's, a double master's, and a doctorate, just not in education, but also in philosophy and sociology. He started as a teacher in 1995 and today is a founder principal of a school, Nehru International. We are here to talk to her about how she worked during the COVID days in education and why we call her the person of the school that cares. So let me invite and welcome Dr. Sunanda K C. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome to this discussion.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm
Ma'am,
happy to be here to share my experience with you. Thank you.
Ma'am, would love to hear more about your experience, about your life, about yourself a bit. How did you really start your journey in education? Why did you choose education to be? And then we'll come to the next question.
Yes. See, I started off, with no idea about, joining into education, field of education at all. Then at some point, after, I went in for, teacher training, my BA. And that's when I actually developed a kind of a strong interest and wanting to, see that the whole world is different over there. So I was definitely into it. And the best part is that I started from a kindergarten teacher onto a middle school teacher, then a senior school teacher. And then I moved on as the head of the department, as a vice principal. So I know every single aspect of the school. So that's how I learned every little bit. And so that just helped me a lot, actually, to, move on with as a principal. It helped me a lot because I just know what works in every category of the school. So that has definitely helped me a lot. And, there was another thing that I use as a pillar for my career throughout. I was using a little bit of this and that, throughout my career. And then later on, I think it was just a few years back, then I got to learn about this 6 Cs of education, which has been my kind of a pillar kind of thing that helped me to view education in a different way altogether. And, if I look into my career, I would say that I've, tried to put in the 6 Cs into my, running a school, getting things done the way it has to be done. And, the 6 Cs is, if you want, just to clarify that thing for you, it's, put forward by Michael Fullan and Jeff Scott. It's about, this communication, collaboration, citizenship, culture, critical thinking, creativity. So all those things are the pillars that I would say, which would help to run the school, a child, to bring up a child into a fully fledged individual. Sure. So it covers all the aspects. And that's how I started. And now as a principal, I feel, these are things that help me. And now I can carry on with my journey in the field of education.
Sure. And now as a founder principal, how does it feel? How is your role?
Now, being a founder principal is a very, very difficult job because, it's starting from scratch, every single thing you need to think of. And it's good because, I'm familiar. I was there as a founder principal in other schools also. So I can understand how much you need to work towards every aspect of the school and to bring the school to make it as unique as we possibly can. So I think it's very challenging, no doubt, but we need to start from scratch, and it's learning every day.
Sure. Doesn't it feel sometimes that it becomes more administrative and event management than being in the academics and in the learning teaching role, as normally what academicians learn to do? Being a
no, sorry, could you? Yeah, sorry, what was that
again? Doesn't it feel more more administrative and more event management kind of a thing rather than teaching learning? When we say being a founder principal, it becomes.
Yeah, I know a little bit of that is there, but finally we are already started, and so we need to get your academics as well as your administrative both together. You need to balance both together, and so It's challenging, no doubt, but it's good.
No?
It's
And
good
that's
because you
that's
learn a lot as you go along.
that's an important thing of a leader too, that he changes as well.
Yeah.
How was your March 2020 taking you down the memory lane when COVID really happened?
Yeah,
What was the
so that was a
situation?
time, when we, that was very, quite what would be something that we did not expect at all. So at that time, what we did was we immediately went into our online mode. I think we were one of the first schools that actually started off with this online mode. So we actually, it was more like a learning experience for us because we tried, the various platforms to do it. And then we sort of settled in with one, which worked out pretty well. And then, the next step was to monitor how things are going on. So it was a, trial and error. We learned as we went along. There were some teething problems as, everything, when we're doing it for the first time.
Sure.
There were things that was challenging, no doubt, but we took it one step at a time, made our errors too along the way, but we learned quickly. And I'm glad that we had a good team. We have a good team of teachers who could, adapt. It's more like learning and relearning and, putting it, getting things across at a very, very fast pace. But I'm glad that the teachers all, were quick to adapt, and they could, manage it in a nice way. And now we're sort of comfortable, and it's moving in a much smoother manner now. And this is how we are going forward.
Wow. So happy to hear your team was really adaptable. They were ready to learn new things, new technologies. Maybe you got some training done for them. Now the other
Actually, we had
scenario.
to spend some time training the teachers because that was our first work that we did to make sure that the teachers are familiar with the because as the new tool, the technology and to the using of whether it's a mobile or a laptop, they should be comfortable using that. So that was our first step into this one.
What were the key challenges which you faced there then? Were teachers very eager to do it? Did they have some apprehensions that parents would be sitting on the side, or I don't have internet at home, or I would not have a place to do? Were all these challenges there in your school too?
Absolutely. We went through the whole thing. There were times when, there were siblings in the family, and so they didn't have more than, one device to share from. So we had to think, plan our timetable also accordingly. And plus we had our, format where we had Pragyata, where we had to follow a certain rules to conduct the classes. Too much of screen time won't be good. And so we had to think about it a lot. And parents were there, right there next to their child. So there were times when, when the teachers did, some of the teachers did find it a little bit challenging and a bit conscious about what they're doing. So those things were there. And then slowly, I think it moved on from that phase. And now the teachers are comfortable. And, they created a nice little bond with the parents too. So whenever we had a celebration or a festival, we made sure that, the parents, the grandparents, everybody was involved. So it was more like, we just got them into the team. So that worked out pretty well.
How easy or difficult was it? Was it to motivate the parents to get involved in the training as well, or to adapt to the new way of learning?
That was a little tough. At least for the senior children, it was fairly easy because they understood that it was the need of the hour. They have to be in touch with the teacher. They have to get trained and things like that. For the junior children, there was some kind of difficulty there, but slowly, with a little bit of, there were times when parents would say, my child has, I've left him with with his grandparents, and so he's not available. And all kind of things were there because, pandemic, there were times when, families were, split up and things like that. So at that time, we had to call up the parents individually and talk to them and then, make them understand the importance. And slowly, things came down to our, ideas when they came down. It was good.
So we at school are used to those extracurricular activities, that connection, looking at the face of the child, putting up a hand of appreciation. So how did all this, like, how did you get this into the digital world? Were there certain small tips, techniques which you gave to teachers saying, boss, do this, let this happen, don't let this happen? What was that affair like?
Yeah, yes, definitely, definitely. There were times when, when we used to tell the teachers to thoroughly do their homework. It's more like, the teachers have to research a lot to get the right resource material, because now they could share the screen and all that, and the resources, there are plenty of resources available. So the teachers had to do a lot of homework to sit and search for the right one. It's not like you just,
No.
pick up something and, show it to the children. So that was not possible. So that was one thing that, I insisted on, made sure that the teachers researched enough for the right material for each chapter.
Last.
And that was mainly the thing that, we thought needed a little help with the running of those online classes.
And did the students pick up as well? Were they really happy doing it, or they missed the class? What was their reaction?
The students too. I mean, I think children are very quick with adapting to things. So children did have had a little bit of a, sometimes, the homework submission was a little slow, and then we had to go behind them to do it. But I think the children were quick to pick it up. I think it was the students were faster in picking up with that, adapting to it faster.
Wow, that's
That's what
interesting.
I felt.
So one of the important things in education when we look at is assessment. So did you really conduct assessment with students this year, last year, or no? Or how did it happen?
Yeah, that was one major challenge that we had, especially with assessments. Before that, I'd just like to also tell you that the challenges, some of the challenges that we faced was, where the kids, switched off their, they muted themselves, or the video was not shown. We do not know whether the child was there or not. So that was one huge, big, problem that we faced. So then, so we used to get the teachers to keep calling out the names of the children, so that they're alert and they're just right there, just like a regular class. And assessment was another challenging part that we did face. Now the thing that also we worked it out, where we first had Google Forms, just where they could just tick it, and that was not enough for senior children. So just ticking may not be the right thing to do. So there's a lot more. Finally, at the end of the day, they'll have to write out their answers and things like that. So what we did next was to have a combination of objective, that is your Google form, where they could just take, and another set of questions where they could write. But finally, at the end of the day, they'll have to write. And some of the kids were not very fast with their typing, so we had to get them to write it. And so that was, we had two aspects to the question paper. One which they could just fill up as an objective kind of question paper. The other one was a written one. And the best we could do is, proctoring was not entirely into our thing as yet. So we had to get the children to switch on the video, and then write the exam in front of us. So it's challenging, but yeah, we had. That's the only thing we could do.
Very challenging for teachers as well as the kids.
Yeah.
So even the parent-teachers meetings, etc., happened online. Were something like this also
we
done?
did it
Some
through, we did it virtually.
Annual day, and all kind of.
Annual day we do not do, but we gave them small celebrations where the kids could come up with something that they could do, whether it's a dance or they want to sing. So we had a little time for the children to express themselves in in any other forms that they wish to. Competitions were conducted. So those are the things that took them away from their studies, and got them to do. Even we did a little bit of physical education too, a bit of yoga too, with the very basic things was possible. But we got aerobics also. We tried with a physical education teacher. So those are the things we tried out.
One of the important milestones was when the government said no 10th exam, no 12th exam this year. How does it reflect on the students' mindset, or what are your views about it?
About cancelling the exams?
About cancelling the board exams, the 10th standard and the 12th standard exams?
I would say that okay, 10th was okay because this is moving to the 11th. But even there, even if you're taking in exams that they've previously done, to a certain extent it's okay. But grade 12 is a bit heavy now because that's a time when they actually decide which course to go to, and maybe the exam would have been there. Maybe it would have helped to a certain extent because these kids, looking at the natural tendency of a child to just, lay back the whole year and, take it rushed in at the last minute and study and do the exams. So that is there. But in a way, I feel what has been done is pretty good because they've taken up, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, everything together. And then you get a full picture of the child and how he's been consistently working or not. So in a way it helps. So I think the chances are that in future we may have to do the same thing. So in that case, I think all 3 years of the child being consistent would help a lot.
Yeah.
So it's not just the end result, just the exam will decide the future.
True. Does it motivate the child as well that there's no examination, or examinations motivate the child in learning? Does that act as a
examination does definitely motivate the child in learning because there was a little gap in between that first wave and the second wave where we did pull in children into the school, the senior children. But we found out that some of them had not actually gotten into the learning mode as such. It was just, they tend to get a little casual there at home, no direct monitoring as yet as such. So that little lacuna is definitely there.
True. So structures help, environment
Absolutely.
helps learning, and if you're at home, that creates a small.
Yes, very much. I think that is so essential. When they come into a particular structure, and it definitely makes them more serious about their studies and what to focus on and all those kind of things. Definitely.
Awesome. Now a year has passed and COVID is still on. Lockdown is coming and going. The new academic year has started. Any new practices from COVID which you have picked up, which will continue forward? How is the plan now for this year?
Yeah, I think we have looked at attendance in a different way now, seeing that whether the child, even in the future, if the schools did open, it'll be more like whether the child is at school or whether the child is at home listening into your lectures. You're teaching your classes. I think you still have to mark him present because he has been there, even remotely. So that is one thing that I thought we might end up doing in the future. But right now, at this point, we still have a lockdown continuing. So we are more like it's picking up the best things that we had for the whole year, like whether it is the kind of assessment we did, and maybe getting them to do more activities rather than sitting and looking at the screen. So our younger children will have a little class of teaching, and the rest of it will be more like activity where they can go away from their screen and do things with practically. So I think that would definitely go a long way in getting them to learn things better.
Awesome. So one of the quick things which comes to mind is to change to flipped classroom approach, where students can learn their own things or read a certain topic and then come to classrooms for discussion and debate and bring about things. Is that
discussion
also a part of
to a certain extent, I would say to some of the children would do it just as sincerely, and there are children who would take a longer time to do it. Blended learning is one thing that I'm very much passionate about, and I think that we need to bring it across to all schools. This is more like getting the child to learn at his own pace. But the thing is that giving every child, there might be children who learn a little slow, and there are kids who learn a lot in a very short time. So those and then finally at the end of the day they have their exams at the at a common spot time. So that is one thing that may be a little challenging, no doubt. So I think it'll work definitely to a majority of the children. Definitely, if they could research on a particular topic. We have tried that in our school, where we'll give them a project, and they pick up a topic that they are fascinated with, and they work on it, research on it. It's more like project-based learning, and no doubt they learn a lot with it. I'm sure in the long run we'll find ways in which everybody goes into that mode. I think that'll help, no doubt.
Sure. This COVID has brought one very interesting thing which looks at is earlier the whole responsibility of education was on the teachers, on the school. The parents used to say, I've sent the child to you, boss, now it is your responsibility. In COVID, the child was at home, teachers were far away, parents were near. So the responsibility of learning shifted from teachers to maybe students. And the students who took up the responsibility of learning did well. They learned, they explored a lot of stuff, parents did it. How do we really make children more responsible towards learning, or parents to focus more on the learning of the child? Is there some ways, some suggestions for parents, or some things which parents should do?
That's one thing we've been always telling the parents: please leave the child to learn on his own. Too much of spoon feeding, too much of sitting with the child and getting him to do things would spoil the child, to an extent where the child expects the parent to do the whole thing. So we tell the parents, sit with the child, that's just fine, but don't help him too much, to an extent where the child doesn't do much at all. It's more of the parents' work than the child's work. So we tell them specifically, it doesn't matter if he goes wrong. It's okay if he, submits a shoddy work. It's okay. Let him learn to do it well. You just guide him, that's enough. But please don't do it for the child. So that is one thing that that helped when we spoke to the parents about that.
One interesting thing which I was reading through your resume was a lot of extracurricular activities you do, a lot of training programs, conferences, etc. How was this COVID time? Was it more of conferences and learning as well as compared to the regular days?
Extracurricular was, I wouldn't say we could focus much on that, because we had our limitations, and if it's done on virtually, maybe you don't get the right amount of it properly done. So that is definitely some area that I'd love to learn from other schools as well, as to how they go about with extracurricular.
Sure. And how about,
because I think that's one thing they're missing out on, where they can do it in groups, and the social interactions and everything has gone. So that is something that we'll have to think about, how well we can do it. Sure. Later on.
How was your learning in COVID? Like conferences, workshops to attend, to find? Did you get opportunities to learn from the world during COVID, sometime more than the regular days, about your learning?
Yes. I definitely did a lot of learning, because the best part is, even whether it's CBSE or anybody else, there were so many trainings available online, virtually, which otherwise would not have been possible, because we may have to travel, go to that place and get trained. But here I found that this is one thing where we had trainings virtually done, so I could attend so many of those trainings, whether it's so many of them, whether it's Coursera or done by the CBSE. It was definitely helpful, but I would still feel that getting trained in person would go a long way.
Very, very true.
Yeah,
that's definitely one person-to-person training, classroom training definitely makes a lot of difference.
Absolutely.
Going forward, ma'am, now coming towards the end of this session, what would be your message to parents and educators who would be watching this video, who would love to hear from you about what to do, some guidance to them?
Yes, I would say keep learning. Take that one step. Take everything one step at a time. Let's keep our vision, our targets, far off, but please take that one step at a time. It doesn't matter how slow, but keep moving forward, keep learning, keep moving forward. You just need to learn, relearn, and unlearn and then relearn. There are times that throughout my life I've learned something. I had this pandemic had made me completely shut down everything. Unlearn some of the things that I've learned, and I've started relearning some new things. And I think the key aspect of it is to adapt to change quickly and keep learning. There's no way you could stop learning. You just have to keep moving forward. So that's what I would tell all educators and parents. Let's not look back at, maybe to learn a few things you could look back, but then, let us move forward. Let us adapt, let us change, and let us think of moving forward, even if it is one step at a time. Let's do it.
Wonderful. So learn, unlearn, relearn, adapt to
Yes,
change, and keep moving forward. Right?
absolutely.
Very, very true. Thank you, Sunanda ma'am. It was wonderful speaking to you. The way you conducted the school during the COVID days, trained your teachers, got them to adapt, get into the shoes of the parents and the students and understand how they would like to learn and change their methods, research and find the best things to be shared with the students, and even change the evaluation way. It need not be just the Google form way because it is easy, but it should be what students want to do, and putting that extra effort to let the student type in or to write in and scan and bring back and then evaluate and give the feedback back to students. All that wonderful effort, even during the challenging days of COVID, because you kept education first, you kept the learning of the student on the forefront. And that's something where we say, ma'am, you definitely were the person who led the school that cares. Thank you, ma'am. It was wonderful
Yeah,
speaking
just
with you.
one small thing I just wanted to
Yes,
mention.
ma'am.
I think other educators too would benefit a lot. We
Sure.
have something called the circle time every day, 1 15 minutes every
Yes.
day in the morning
Yes, yes,
for the
yes.
children to just simply interact with their teacher. Just like, having an informal little chat with the teacher. The teacher also tends to have a little bonding with the children. Children are staying in different kind of backgrounds and households and all that, so their experience are totally different at home, each one from a different background. So what when we had this little bit of circle time every day for every classes, we found that children could bond with the teacher, and there were times when children would open up to the teacher saying, okay, I have this problem, or even if it is something like they got a new gift or something, they would share it with the teacher. And I think every school should do that, just so that there's a little bit of touch with the teacher, because they'll enjoy having that emotional bond with the teacher, other than people from home. Something they could not share at home, they share with the teacher. And I think that is something that every educator could make use of.
Wonderful. Wonderful idea, ma'am. A circle time where the teacher bonds with the student, talks to the student
Yeah,
about certain things which they normally do not talk in the class. Yeah, where some
absolutely.
connections
Just a
build.
little informal time.
Yeah, just an informal time. And that's something very important though. I work with corporates sometimes and they say that's that one thing which is missing. We used to sit in office, chat, talk a lot, and now that connection is not happening. So that collaboration, which was easy, sometimes now it becomes very kind of official and boring. And that's something even which is true between student and the teacher. Thank you
Very
for that
essential
idea, ma'am.
too.
Very
Yeah.
essential too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sunanda ma'am. It was wonderful speaking to you. We'll connect again sometime with some other topic and some other point of interest. But today you added a lot of value. You told us a lot of things which students and educators and parents could pick up. Making students responsible for learning is another key important thing which you talked about. Thank you, ma'am, for being here.